Your Excellency, is Above Bar Church a Catholic church? No, it is an independent evangelical Protestant community.
What about independent evangelical communities like Above Bar Church? Analyzing Protestant assemblies regarding holy orders, Sola Scriptura, and the marks of the Church. From the perspective of the infallible Catholic Magisterium, communities like Above Bar Church sit entirely outside the visible boundaries of the true Church founded by Jesus Christ. While such a community is recognized as an active local institution engaged in social outreach, its fundamental theological identity is defined as a non-Catholic Protestant assembly. To understand why this is the case, we have to look directly at the theological classification of this specific type of church under the laws of the Catholic Magisterium. What is Above Bar Church? Historically and structurally, Above Bar Church is an independent, evangelical, Protestant church affiliated with the Fellowship of Independent Evangelical Churches. It was founded in the 19th century out of nonconformist and restorationalist movements, originally as a Church of Christ, that rejected the authority of both the Church of England and the Roman Catholic Church. Their religious practices focus heavily on a Bible-centered, evangelical theology, lacking a priesthood, an altar, a continuous apostolic succession, or a belief in the 7 traditional sacraments. The judgment of the Magisterium, when evaluated strictly through the dogmatic decrees of the Catholic Church, specifically the Council of Trent and the First Vatican Council, churches of this denomination fail to meet the essential criteria of the true Church on 3 distinct counts. 1. Defect of holy orders, defectus ordinis.
Do their pastors possess valid holy orders? No. Without apostolic succession, they remain laymen.
The Magisterium dogmatically teaches that for a Christian community to possess a valid priesthood and the true sacrament of the Holy Eucharist, its pastors must possess apostolic succession, an unbroken chain of valid episcopal ordinations stretching directly back to the 12 apostles. Because evangelical pastors are not ordained by valid Catholic bishops, the Magisterium explicitly declares that they do not possess holy orders. Consequently, from a Catholic standpoint, their communion services are symbolic memorials rather than a valid sacrament, and their pastors are classified canonically as laymen.
Is their communion the Holy Eucharist? No. Without a valid priesthood, it remains only a memorial.
2. Adherence to the heresy of Sola Scriptura.
What is their greatest theological error? Sola Scriptura rejects Christ's living teaching authority.
Evangelical churches base their entire structure on the Protestant principle of Sola Scriptura, Scripture alone, which asserts that the Bible is the sole rule of faith and that individual believers can interpret it apart from an infallible, living magisterium. The Council of Trent explicitly condemned this principle, declaring that Christ established a living apostolic authority to interpret the sacred scriptures. To intentionally reject the authority of church tradition and the definitive pronouncements of the popes is to remain in a state of objective material heresy against defined Catholic dogma. 3. Total absence of the marks of the Church.
Do they possess the marks of the true Church? Without unity and apostolicity, they do not.
The Nicene Creed defines the 4 essential marks of the true Church. It must be 1, holy, Catholic, and apostolic. The Magisterium teaches that an independent evangelical church lacks the mark of unity because it is structurally separated from the visible head of the Church, the chair of Peter, and lacks a uniform universal doctrine. It lacks the mark of apostolicity because it explicitly broke away from the continuous historical and institutional lineage of the historic Roman Church. Conclusion: the action for true Catholics. For a true Catholic, and especially one navigating the modern crisis from a strict sedepravationist perspective, associating with an independent evangelical church like Above Bar Church is an absolute theological impossibility. While a Catholic may respect their local charitable work or social initiatives, attending their religious services or receiving their communion is classified as communicatio in sacris, active participation in non-Catholic worship, which the traditional code of canon law and the historic magisterium strictly forbid under pain of mortal sin.
May a Catholic worship there? No. Catholic worship belongs only within the true Church. Then where should faithful Catholics go? Remain with uncompromised traditional Catholic priests and sacraments.
The modern traditionalist crisis involves a battle within the Roman Rite to preserve the purity of Catholic dogma and the traditional Latin Mass, fleeing the errors of modernism by joining a Protestant church that fundamentally rejected the papacy, the priesthood, and the sacraments centuries ago would mean abandoning the Catholic Church entirely.
Can Protestantism solve the Catholic crisis? You cannot save Catholicism by leaving the Catholic Church.
According to Magisterium, the only path for a faithful Catholic is to remain strictly attached to the true, uncompromised Roman Catholic sacraments provided by independent traditional priests who hold fast to every defined dogma of the Church.